Community is concerned about the possibility of a day zero, and job retrenchments and business closures are becoming a real fear for those in the city. The water issue is not only an economic one, but also a political issue, especially as to how it will be addressed. Our reporter Iviwe Poti has more for us on this. She joins us live from Port Elizabeth. Iviwe, hi there. How real is the possibility of a day zero for the Eastern Cape?
Well, good day, Natasha. In terms of the realities of day zero for the Eastern Cape, if you'll remember when we look back around 2010, the general dam levels were just above 30%. And now when we look at the end of last year and the beginning of January, it was ranging between 25 and 27%. So in terms of the dam levels actually decreasing and us coming closer to a day zero more than what we actually anticipate, especially in the rural areas where they are dependent on the water tanks within their yards. A day zero for the Eastern Cape is very possible. The Nelson Mandela Business Chamber, which is the largest business chamber here in the Eastern Cape, having over 130 companies registered to them, that being private businesses, have taken out a study yesterday which has highlighted, if I can tell you, the fact that over 60% of the companies here in the metro have said that they're very, very concerned about the water levels and water sustainability for their companies, and as well as over 40% of those companies saying that they will definitely, hold back on investing further or growing their companies until they have, certainty that they will have water sustainability to grow those companies and become bigger, in fact, or invest even further. But we're going to speak to Ongama Mtimka, a political analyst, who's going to tell us a bit more, Ongama, in terms of the political willpower coming from the top national, local and municipal level before it comes to the smaller companies that are now fearing investing further, as well as looking at possibilities of retrenching. Let's speak about the political willpower and the political gains when we look at this problem that we have of the drought.
So the political ramifications of day zero are huge, because you must now think about the thousands of people that will be affected and how distributing whatever resources can be availed from a water point of view can be managed in such a way that there's no conflict. People stand in a queue, people remain civil as long as there's perceptions that there's enough for everybody. I think what's disappointing about this, Iviwe, is that, there's a, while lack of rain is a natural issue, there's a level at which the planning and foresight at a government level has not been really encouraging. If you remember, we had the same problem with electricity. Investments were not made at the time that they needed to be made, and as a result we hit a crisis. And you can understand government also, because there's the neoliberal tendency to evaluate government spending puts pressure on government to justify every expenditure on the basis of demand, and that demand tends to be looked at from a short-term perspective and they're hardly a long-term. And in fact, the argument is always the case that whether demand should come first before investments get made, or foresight should be exercised and infrastructure invested in well in advance so that demand catches up. But among all other things, also there's a problem in the intergovernmental administrative processes, where you find that municipalities may identify problems well in advance, but in the process of project approvals at an intergovernmental level, you find that the due diligence that is needed to be made takes too long sometimes by national departments or provincial departments to be timeous, so that investments can be made to boost reservoirs for water. So I'm happy now. It seems like we're getting there's some movement around getting desalination licenses at Kucha, which then means that something can be done to expedite those investments, making sure that we purify seawater. We don't know, because we've had seawater for a long time. Drought patterns in the Eastern Cape, and I think in the Cape in general, have been known that every 4 years you have a drought. That we have not had investments well in advance to actually preempt crises of this nature, when we knew that each time we are connecting new users on the water supply systems that had never been connected before. We should have known better as a country.
And then, Ongama, looking at the budget speech, and obviously a lot of people from the affected areas are expecting to hear in terms of what will be allocated to those provinces that are affected severely by the drought. When we speak about capabilities, not only in the municipalities, and also the concept politically of who will benefit, which municipalities will be served first, you might also pick up that you find your DA example-led municipalities might find it difficult to communicate with the local government the next step before you get to national. What are some of the challenges that might come through here before it even gets to the private sector?
So I like the word you used, capability. So you have Malusi Gigaba today might announce that certain amount of money is going to be allocated for drought relief, and that's welcome. The key issue when it comes to government is the ability to manage projects efficiently and quickly enough to be able to deliver the project on time. And what affects that is not necessarily the assessment of capabilities objectively when you look at them, but sometimes the politics associated with it. There will be questions about, for example, when a municipality is going to roll out big infrastructure project, politics about who benefits, which companies get to do those things, and which politicians, with political meddling in procurement, which is very rampant across all levels of government. Sometimes they stifle what is required in the pace at which delivery can be made. And you hope that when we're in crisis situations, politicians as well as the private sector are humble enough to subject themselves to the processes and just put the interests of the country before their own.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Ongama. Natasha, from us for now, that is what we have in terms of the drought and what the Eastern Cape is actually expecting to hear from the budget speech, and as well as, the political willpower of South Africa in terms of addressing these issues that also might, in ripple effect, affect the private business sector, which a lot of people actually gain from. But for now, it's back to you guys in studio.
Thank you, Iviwe. Our Iviwe Poti live for us from the Eastern Cape.